WF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top like journeys.
Yes, hello everyone. You're probably thinking, hang on a minute. Crystal Palace don't have a game in the weekend. What's going on here? Well, you're correct. We don't. It is the international break, unfortunately. So instead, we've decided to do something slightly differently. Since there's been a lot of interesting tactical questions, I think, this season so far for Crystal Palace, we put out a tweet asking for your questions so we can answer it on here. And that is the tweet. And we'll try to cover all of those today. And in addition to that, if we've got any time at the end, having talked about them, obviously throw any other ones in the comments, like I can see Tim has done here already. Thank you, Tim. We'll try and go through those after we've gone through the ones that were on Twitter. But anyways, JC, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. A little bit different. It feels a bit weird looking at how we play and talk about us a lot more than talk about another team. So a little bit strange, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been looking forward to this one as well. Just something a bit different. And if this goes well, then hopefully this is something that we'll do again.
Yeah, this might be the new international break, TACT-EAGLE.
Yeah, because I think we kind of not had to feel something, but like it's a good time to maybe like just, kind of regain ourselves, especially after a stressful seven games so far. But anyways, without further ado, what is the first question, JC? That was on your PowerPoint.
Oh yeah, so before we even start, we've got Dan, who is a spreadsheet merchant, and I guess your boy is now a PowerPoint merchant. So we have a PowerPoint presentation here. So welcome back to school, guys. The first question is...
Here's the starter. Get your books out.
From Smiley Face, Cowfield 7. Why does Oliver Glasner play Kamada deep and Nketiah as a narrow 10? Stevie Wonder could see it doesn't work. Dan, is there anything that you want to start off with this, or should I give it a go?
Right. Firstly, I'm going to caveat, and I will say, actually, that's a good question. That's a good thing that I haven't got up ready. Tactics board. But I think it's I don't think it works because I do... should I start saying it now? Because our fullbacks are maybe not the kind of players who will kind of make stuff out of nothing on their own. I think the problem is Nketiah, because he is a striker, moves too narrow. And I think that's why maybe Munoz hasn't been as prolific this season.
Mm-hmm.
And Kamada, I'm going to guess his reasoning is that he wants a player because let's say we got our three at the back, right? And then we got our double pivot. My thinking of what Glasner thinks is that Wharton sits a bit deeper and maybe Kamada moves up and can try and connects with the front a bit more. So it's kind of like a staggered pivot. That's what I think the logic is. But again, I don't think Kamada's really adapted to the Premier League very well, especially in that middle role.
Mm-hmm. I think it's quite interesting that you already mentioned the fullbacks, even though we're talking about someone in midfield. And I think it's interesting because I think almost every single question that we're going to answer today revolves around fullbacks to some degree.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people probably seen the tweets by Euro Expert about our fullbacks and about what he's surprised that we didn't go out for fullbacks in the summer. Sorry, wingbacks. And I think it's a very interesting point that has been raised.
I completely agree with him. And funny enough, I feel like what he said is a much more eloquent way of what I've been trying to say to people.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm not going to delve into it too much, but I feel like if you're trying to play this formation, you need to have wing backs that can dribble.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think,
Um,
well, I'll talk about it a bit later in the other questions when they're actually specific to the wing backs, but I think it's all kind of collapsed on itself.
Pretty much. But if we're talking about Kamada specifically here, I thought, what better way to show this off than with a little bit of a heat map, let's say. So let's get to it. Here is Kamada's heat map comparing it between Lazio and Frankfurt. Obviously, at Frankfurt, he was much more prolific in front of goal. As you can see, 7 goals, 9 assists. Yes, it is spun upside down, but I did circle it so you know that which one is Kamada. Because I didn't want one to be one way up and the other one to be one way up. I just didn't want that at all.
So is he the left attacking midfielder?
So in Glasner's system at Frankfurt, he was the left attacking midfielder, and as you can see from the heat map above him, he was very much more in the attacking third of the pitch, 100%, but he was much more free to move across the front line. This because Kamada and I think that's Lindstrom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Both of them were basically they run in behind and they would swap multiple times a game because both of them were both footed to some degree. So both of those guys had, I wouldn't say a free role, but in the attacking third, it didn't really matter where they were as long as the other one was picking up a position that isn't there. But obviously, you can definitely tell that he is a lot more on that left-hand side. And, he used to take their set pieces. And also a thing that I think is quite good as well. Bearing in mind, he was the attacking output here. He was a player that was there and meant to go forwards and meant to create goals. I feel like a good part of his game was still that defensive work. Like he's still got 1.8 tackles per 90. He's still, as you can see from the heat map, he's still tracking back. He's still helping out in midfield, even though he was primarily a forward-thinking player, which, we saw it from Ayew, for example. If you're a forward-thinking player, but you're still coming back to defend, that's a good thing. But then if you try and put that attacking player in a actually defensive role, and then you don't have other people around him to help him, that's where problems start to arise. And this is where you see the transition between him in a 10 role to him in an 8 role at Lazio. So you got 2 different fan bases here. One of them loves him. Frankfurt think he's amazing. They're actually upset they let him go. Lazio, on the other hand, they wanted to play him in a flat 3. So obviously Glasner's system and then another manager's system here. But the thing is here is that he was playing in a midfield 3. So he had 2 other people to help him out. And granted, 2 goals, 2 assists in 23 starts isn't the best return, and 32 total appearances all season. Not the best stats, let's be real. But then if you look at the defending stats there as well, 1.8 tackles, still very good. 2.6 ball recoveries as well. That means he's tracking his players, he's trying to make things happen. Maybe if he puts a ball in, gets intercepted, he will definitely try and win that ball back. And that's something that we have seen at Palace. He does try and win the ball back if he does misplace a pass. He does try and do what he does. He tries to get the ball back. But the only difference is the Italian league and the Premier League is just completely different physically. So in the Italian league, he's probably winning the ball back. But then in the Premier League, he's just not strong enough to win the ball back sometimes. So as you can see, he's definitely a lot more on that left-handed side, which is a little bit strange. If he's set up on the right, but he's actually on the left, this is mainly because he was primarily deployed on that left-hand side of midfield. This example I got here is just on the right-hand side. So as you can see in the top right in there, you can see that he's very much allocated into that specific space, and he didn't really do much else around the pitch unless it was like a set piece, corner, whatever. So then everyone was sort of all over the place. But each team liked him for something completely different. Obviously, you got the attacking output from Frankfurt. You had him in that midfield 3, sort of that energy in midfield, sort of the person who win the ball back, turn around and get an attack going. But the difference that we see between these 2 teams and then Crystal Palace, Dan, can you tell the difference here between this and Frankfurt, let's say?
Well, he's playing a lot deeper for a start, and he's only got one other player in the midfield to help him out.
Exactly. He's only got one other guy to help him, whereas at Lazio, when he was actually thriving defensively, he's only got one guy to help him now. And let's be real, I'm not trying to pick on Adam Wharton here, but he's not the guy to run back and make a last ditch tackle. Adam Wharton's a metronome. He tries to keep the pace of the game going. He tries to hit balls in behind. He tries to keep the game, and he's a dictator of tempo. He's not a DM like other clubs seem to think he is. That's not him. So you've sort of got two ball playing midfielders, but none of them can really do that dirty defensive work that needs to be done. And here, Glasner playing them both together, it's just a recipe for disaster, really, because both of them are not really ones to, take handle of a midfield, let's say.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. And I think for me, that kind of explains a little bit why Lerma and Hughes always play well next to Wharton as well. Because, like you say, I do agree. I think Wharton kind of needs like a more energetic kind of player, especially at the moment as well.
Yeah.
To kind of like back him up a little bit.
And I feel like with Kamada, he's never really had a very organized, controlled role in any team he's ever played for. So even in that Lazio team, even though it was a 3, it was a very fluid 3. He was sometimes a 10, he was sometimes a 6, he was most of the time at 8. He was making his way around, doing what he needed to do, pick up space where he wanted to, where he needed to. Same thing with Frankfurt. He wanted to pick up space, run the channels, get in behind. However, with Palace, he's sort of in a weird situation where his inner thinking thinks, okay, this is what's comfortable for me. I'm going to go make space. But then while he does that, he leaves Adam Wharton all on his own in the midfield. So because it's only 2 in midfield, you can't really afford to have him moving into all those different spaces and leaving someone like Adam Wharton all on his own. Like potentially, I'm not saying he should or it would happen, but potentially it might work out a little bit better if Kamada was moving around in space, if you had Decore sitting in the middle, let's say, or Lerma, let's say, because he could probably pick up the ball, drive forwards, pick a nice pass out or something like that, just because he's a little bit stronger. But personally, I think Kamada's not physical enough to play in the 8. I think he's fine in the 10 because he's not really played 10 very often for us, but when he has, he's looked pretty decent. Not strong enough to be at 8. Not positionally aware enough to play in the 8 either, especially if we only got 2 in midfield. Even for Japan, when he plays right wing back, I still see him running in behind. I'm thinking, brother, you're right back. What's happening here? So he's always had that free role, but I do believe that technically he is good enough to play in that midfield. Like he's great on the ball. He can dribble, he can pass. And my sort of thinking here with what Glasner's trying to do is he's maybe trying to flex Kamada into that midfield while Decore is injured, to add that little bit of technical ability in the middle. I just feel like this experiment's just gone badly wrong because of the pure physicality of the Premier League. I just don't think it's going to work. And with Glasner playing him like this, I think the experiment's just got to end. You have to just play Lerma Hughes in that middle, and that's the only way it's going to work. Maybe Lerma Wharton if you want to keep the tempo of the game up. And if you're going to play Kamada, you've got to play him in his preferred position. You've got to get him in that attacking area because his technical ability will shine through and he will get some goals if you persist with him in that 10 role. But then it comes another issue. Do you drop Eze and play him in that left-sided 10 where he's comfortable, or do you cause an issue with a new £30 million signing of Eze and Nketiah?
Yeah, I think Eze's an interesting one because I have watched back like some of the games, and I do think in like the last half against Liverpool, I thought he picked up a little bit. But then I think this is a bit premature talking about this, but I think that's because of the system that changed, or the players that were on the pitch, or the way that they were playing was different. I think and also with Kamada as well, I think he excelled well, especially in the Leicester game, which is another time where we changed the system a little bit. Um,
And we played them in 10.
But then I suppose you could argue that it's a good thing that we've got this dilemma, I suppose, is that obviously you wish that Eze was firing, but at least we do have someone, I suppose, kind of on his heels, kind of being like, if you don't play well, I'm going to play there instead, etc., etc.
Do you think it's maybe time to maybe make that statement and drop Eze, potentially? Because that statement was made against Man City, where Glasser just pulled him off because he was useless that game, and then ever since then he was great. So is it maybe the Forest game one to make this statement, or is Forest such an important game that you just can't drop your best player?
I think he did have a good second half against Liverpool. If he
Apart
didn't,
from his finishing.
But yeah, apart from his finishing. To be fair though, I do think Mateta should have released that a bit earlier for me. But
hot take. I thought the pass was perfect. He had time to take a touch.
I don't know. I think it was for me. It was one touch too many. I think personally, but to be fair though, he should finish it regardless anyway. But then at the same time, would you back Kamada in that position to score that? So
you know what? I think purely for the finish against Norwich and the calmness he showed in front of the keeper, I think I would. I don't know. Because I think Kamada would have taken the ball further into the box instead of trying to shoot first time.
To be honest, the only thing that's stopping me saying 100% yes, drop him, is just that I did think he played all right in the second half against Liverpool. We got 2 weeks off. He's not gone away with England this time as well. Maybe that'll be a good bedding in time, I hope. Obviously, if he drops another stinker, then for me, that's completely it. In terms of Nketiah, I think he's good up front. But then, again, a bit premature talking about it. But then I think reverting to a system where we're playing like a 4-2-2-2, actually, I thought worked very well with them two up front. I don't think Nketiah should continue to play the 10 though, unless something happens where, again, this is a bit premature, but I think our our centre backs haven't been as aggressive in attack or defence so far this season. And I think if they're more aggressive in attack, then I think it could work. But yeah, I don't really want him in the 10 anymore.
Yeah, for me, obviously, so here's what my tactics board look like. I've just made the team that just seems to frustrate everyone the most, like Kamada in the middle and Nketiah on the right. It's just this is probably the team that frustrates Palace fans the most right now. Granted, we know Munoz is injured, we know Wharton's injured, so don't take this as this is how we're going to set up in the next game. That's not how it is at all. But for me, Nketiah, there's one main issue here. He's been a striker his whole career. For his youth career, for his senior career, everything. He's been a number 9. He is so used to playing here. And then all of a sudden moving him out here to run defensive work, to dribble the ball, to try and make an option out wide, that's just not his game. And the amount of times where the ball is, I guess, over on this side of the pitch and his instinct is just to tuck in here, as a striker would do. Instinctively, you just tuck in here. But obviously, that would just leave so much space down here where a certain winger would actually pick up that position and be able to stretch the defense. However, if Mateta and Nketiah stand on top of each other, probably not going to trouble the defenders very much, let's say. But too narrow, it can be coached, but I feel like he 25? I feel like the coaching stage is probably long gone by now. I think that the only reason why we're trying to play him here is because he's bank. I think Glasner's banking on Eze picking up the ball, driving into the middle, and then we have two strikers trying to make runs for him. I think that's what the plan is. It's just not really come off yet. I don't think. So I don't think that he wants to play Nketiah in the 10. I don't think he wants Nketiah to be a number 10. I feel like he wants him to play in that position off the ball. So we have someone in that position to, defend basically. But the issue comes when Munoz has the ball and Nketiah needs to help him out here. But because Nketiah is so used to being a striker, he will start to make runs in behind, whereas he should be dropping in here to try and link up the play.
So the thing that I was kind of alluding to that I think we started to do in the second half against Liverpool, why we caused them problems, and I haven't really seen us do it. Sorry, do you mind putting that back up there for a sec, JC?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, if our right centre-back, which bearing in mind last season, like, Nathaniel Klein was like overlapping Munoz, do you know what I mean? Or overlapping Elise.
Yeah.
I think if whoever the right centre-back is, whether it's Lacroix or Chalobah, and Lacroix did it quite a lot against Liverpool, especially in the second half, I thought.
Oh, yeah, it was like this, wasn't it?
Yeah. If Lacroix pushes up, then for me, I think that kind of I don't think it perfectly solves that problem. I mean, I still probably wouldn't have Nketiah as the 10. But I think with that centre-back pushing up, you've got an extra body in midfield and an extra body on that side to try and help out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we've had that combination of the centre-back wasn't pushing up like they did last season, and then also Nketiah was moving too narrow, then it isolated Munoz so much. Or even if it's like Lacroix moving into midfield and then Kamada, I don't know, maybe Kamada pulls out wide or something like that. Maybe that could be the answer. I don't know. And then maybe Nketiah just plays off Mateta or something like that. Maybe. I mean, this is all a bit pie in the sky, really, considering it hasn't worked so far. But that's the way I could potentially see it working if Nketiah and Mateta were to play at the same time.
And I think it also allows for a very easy formation change as well, having Nketiah on the pitch. You can very easily take off a defender, put on Sarr and go 4-4-2. Like, you could very easily do something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. What's the next question on the agenda? Actually, let's go through some comments first.
Oh, yeah. You do that while I get the thing ready.
Right. Big up the dog. Thank you for watching. What about a 3-5-2, but with Eze pushed further forward with Mateo and Nketiah up front? I guess we've kind of touched on that, and we'll talk a bit later again about the potential for formation changes. Mitchell, as a left wing back, is hurting us in the back four. He's fine defensively, but we can't continue to approach. Negligence from the board not to address this area in the summer. Yeah, I agree. You're all going to see my spreadsheet later. So, need more competition there. Yeah, I agree. Even not signing the backup, I thought was madness for me. But
yeah,
yes,
I guarantee you that the fact that we could have got Archie Brown for £8 million, I bet he'll cost double that in January. Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Big up Chairman. Big up Animal. Big up Rich. 8 years in January since we last signed a left back. Is it really that long? Wow. Unironically, PVA would be brilliant in this.
I said this the second that Vieira came through the door. I said PVA would cook for this manager.
He actually would. Rich agrees as well. This is a tactic question. Get your name placed on the screen while you're there. Oh, the bear. Thanks for tuning in. That was just Kamada is a Mitchell backup. Not quite. More like a midfield, like an 8 or a 10. How long do you reckon Decore before he's 100%? Still a month? I think he's still officially going to be injured for 3 weeks. So after that,
I can double check that.
After that, who knows? Rich saying 6 weeks. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. He's been out for a long time. He's come back, gotten injured already, etc., etc.
So, Chaddy Riyadh will be back mid-December. Chris Richards should be back for Forest. Czech Decore should be in the squad for Forest, but he's only got a 25% status. Daniel Munoz is unknown, França is unknown, and Rob Holding is
Beefing.
Rob Holding, isn't it?
Hello, Lord Everything Trains. That's what I've been saying for weeks now. Like to see Francis start, when he's fit eventually. We'll put him back in slowly. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think he's got another groin injury, so I don't know if he maybe didn't recover properly from the last one. Don't know. Rich agrees with you, JC. The pass is perfect. I just think if he gets the ball, I'm not talking much earlier. I'm literally saying one or maybe 1-2 touches.
I mean, it still gives Eze the ability to turn around, though. He's done it so many times.
But then that's his problem. That's not. Do you know what I mean? That's
then again, if Eze does that, we don't even get into a shooting opportunity there. Because of Nketiah taking that extra touch, he forces Eze to commit forwards.
Yeah, but that's not. Yeah, but that's not necessarily. That's just Eze being Eze. That's not to do with the pass. I think if he just got it a touch earlier, I'm literally just talking a touch. He doesn't have to hit it first time. I think
I don't think he had to hit it first time though, personally.
I think he would have made it harder for him though if he didn't. If he lets it roll across his body, the keeper's going to be on him a lot quicker.
It's their third choice keeper. I doubt he's going to come off his line sharpish.
Maybe. I don't know. But
I don't know.
Either way, it was, I agree, Animal, a terrible shot. I mean, realistically, he should have scored from it anyway, regardless. So it doesn't really matter anyway. Team versus Liverpool was the best all season. Yep, I agree. Second half, I actually thought we played quite well.
We were unlucky not to get anything out of that game.
Yeah, and I'm going to show people some feel-good stats later. Just because I think we are feeling a bit bad at the moment, but yeah.
All right.
Ebbs wouldn't have been able to get a shot if played it earlier. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm only talking literally one touch. Eze and Kamada are the 10s in the system. Yeah, I think that's fair. If CDs are strong, if they're weak, Nketiah. To be fair, I think Nketiah is actually a lot stronger than people give him credit for, and he's good at winning fouls as well. Hughes and Wharton with discipline and groin injury aren't 100%. So if CD can 100% start, I'll play him. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Professor JC. So this is one of the questions that we're going to talk about a little bit later. And Callum's just saying what we're all thinking.
Hey. All right.
Right.
Next up. Is this the first time we haven't had a winger in the squad? Not having any wingers has knock-on effects on our tactical flexibility.
To be fair, so I thought about this, and we don't. I think the thing is, we don't really play with wingers anymore, and I would, to be fair, I would class Sarr as a winger.
Well,
and also last season, our only real winger was Elise, I would say.
Is a winger. Seen as a striker. Can play wing back too.
Utility, man.
Mr. Utility. Can play fullback as well.
Do you reckon when he was sick at Watford, he think he'd be playing right wing back for Crystal Palace 5 years later?
I don't think he thought he was going to play wing back for anyone, let alone Marseille. But yeah, so we do have a winger. It is Ismail Sarr. He's primarily a winger. Glasner sees him as a striker. Dougie sees him as a bit of a striker, but also a little bit of a utility man as well. But as you said, I don't think that the formation we play really needs wingers. I feel like the width this season was meant to come from the fullbacks. And this is why I do feel like this is why Nketiah was bought. So he can be in front of goal at all times here. So let's say in this scenario here, Mitchell pushes up, has all the width in the world, and then he's got 3 people to aim at running in on goal down here. And this is probably what Glasner's thinking. He's probably thinking, okay, we want a fullback that can go forwards. He did it very well last season. Munoz did it very well last season. We're able to do this. But one thing that is very much forgotten, let's say, is that the only reason why Mitchell and Munoz actually got into these positions in the first place was because of an Anderson pass. I don't believe Mitchell or Munoz ever beat their man to get into this position. I believe that they were standing there and Anderson found them standing in a lot of space, and then they got into making this attacking role.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like they'll only ever run into space.
Yeah, and they were always found by Anderson because he could hit that 40-yard diagonal flat as well. So even though you could see it coming, the ball was moving too fast to even be able to stop it or intercept it. So, as you alluded to earlier with what your expert said and what I've been trying to say as well, is that this formation, we need dribbling fullbacks. Like, granted, this is a sort of an analogy from another team that's a lot better than us right now. But if you look at Xavi's team, you've got Frimpong and Grimaldo on each side. Both of them very happy to dribble with the ball forwards, very happy to like either stretch the play, run on the inside, hold the width, like very comfortable on the ball. I'd say Mitchell was the opposite of these guys. He's not comfortable on the ball. He's only got 1 foot. I don't think I've ever seen him complete a dribble. And for this formation, you need people comfortable on the ball to do it. Whereas it worked last season because one, you had Anderson's pass in to get these players in behind without them doing anything. And also in Munoz's case, he had Elise on his side who could dribble and defend at the same time. So Munoz, I guess in a sense, all he had to do was just aid him going forwards, really, because Michael could do the rest on his own because of just how good he was. And also, I think it's a little bit stupid that, as you said earlier, we've got no backups here. So it would be nice to have someone that is primarily a left-sided player, because if Mitchell gets injured, we're finished. If Eze gets injured, we're finished.
If Munoz gets... Oh, wait, hang on.
If Munoz gets in... Oh, we've got Klein.
So, yeah, at least he would actually run at a man, I suppose, maybe.
But yeah, like with Eze and Nketiah, they're meant to be central. They're meant to be here. The width is meant to come from the fullbacks. That's why we haven't invested in wingers, and it makes it seem even more stupid why we didn't go big on fullbacks either, or wingbacks. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. Right, what's question number 3?
Oh, nothing to add to that one, mate. Or are you pretty happy with that one?
The thing is, like, a lot of the stuff I'm going to say is all like in later questions, so I'm saving it for that.
Okay. Next up, man like Tiddles.
Okay. Now it's my time to shine.
With Ty being off form, is this the chance to try Umeh at left back? So let me cook for a little while because it's the last question I actually talk about. Franco Umeh. Here's all the positions that he can play, has played, will play. Bear in mind when it says left mid, that is wing back, because for some reason this website doesn't class wing back as a role, because he's never played full back. He's always played wing back. So I think it's a good shout. Because he has the attributes of being that left-sided attacker, that left-sided defender, the left-sided midfielder, and a natural striker as well. So he's got the know-how to hold the width, to make chances, to aid in the attack. And he's also had the time in the youth team at Cork City as well, in the men's team, to, build up physically, to be able to read the game. And he knows the position very well. The only thing is, I think it's such a huge risk, because if you look at preseason, and I know preseason's preseason, but he struggled in preseason as well. He nearly got himself sent off in both games he actually featured in. And that was against a West Ham team and a Wolves team that weren't really doing very much. And bear in mind, he nearly got sent off in both games. That's probably not the best thing. I think it's a great idea. Obviously, Mitchell needs a rest, and I could guarantee you that Umeh is so much better and more confident on the ball than Mitchell going forwards. But I feel like we're going to lose out so much on that defensive work that I don't think it's actually worth the risk. I feel like because I believe they penciled in a friendly tomorrow against Ipswich. I feel like this is where you have to trial this out. If Umeh doesn't play tomorrow in this trial game, I don't think he's going to play for us or start for us this season. So I think it's a good shout. I just think it's too much of a risk right now to go ahead with it in a Premier League game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I agree with that. I think like you'll get the thing is the trade-off of what you get more in an attacking sense good enough for the obviously less defensiveness, and also is he gonna you never know, is he gonna come on and maybe let the occasion get to him a little bit? Who knows? We don't know. So I agree. It's a massive risk. Do you know, actually, as a player that I'm disappointed they haven't kicked on, because I thought they could have been, Teo would have been really good in this role had the loan spells kind of fallen the way that they should have or could have. Because I think he would have done really well.
I feel like that Coventry loan was a year too soon.
Yeah, and now he's at Stockport, and he got injured within a few games. So
in pre-season, not even in a few games.
Yeah, so it was pre-season, wasn't it? And obviously Molenbeek, that was a bad time to send him there. It's been a bit of a bad choice of loans.
Yeah, I feel like it's not a bad choice of loans. I feel like he's just gotten unlucky everywhere he's gone, really. Because Molenbeek was when the beef started happening between Textor and Parish, and Coventry. It wasn't him to know that they were going to be challenging for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then also now he's just gotten injured, so it's just unfortunate for him.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that sums it up, Animal. He's just been unlucky, bad timing, etc., etc. So that's all it is, really. Okay, so here are my spreadsheets. So I understand. Let's proceed. Oh, look at that.
Beware. That's all I'll say. Beware.
Okay, so
I might get a bit too excited.
Let me just talk through this. So these are all the left backs, or the most commonly played left backs for each team so far this season. I've not included Arsenal and City because they're just different and there's no point. Now, I found this all very interesting. So these are the raw numbers, which, if you look at that, it's just a bit much. So what I've done instead is that these are all the ranks. Okay. So this is how all the players ranked in there. So you can see I've highlighted Mitchell here. Obviously 1 is like the best and 18 is the worst. So actually, Mitchell, has a lot of touches in the attacking third and the attacking penalty box. That makes sense from what we see. I'm going to come back to take-ons in a minute and carries. Now, interestingly, shot-creating actions, again, very good. Passing, very good. And I've done this so you've got crosses. So he's, in terms of completing crosses, ranks 5th of all those players. In terms of, and I thought, okay, he does dither on the ball a lot, so maybe he takes a lot of touches in comparison to the amount of crosses he actually gets in. Again, not really true. He actually doesn't take many touches in comparison to that. Again, key passes, which is the pass before a shot. The same with completed. Actually, no, that's not true. Sorry. Come back to that in a sec. Again, expected assists, second of all of those players. And that's every player apart from Arsenal and Chelsea. So that includes, say, for example, Udogie. That includes Adinya, Hall, etc., etc. Now, but the problem is, I think these are a product of the system. Because if you come back over here, you see this is received. Okay, so this is the amount of passes, progressive passes that Tyrone Mitchell receives. He's number 1. And if I go up to the raw data, okay, number 2, who's number 2? Is Anthony Robinson for Fulham. He's 6, okay? Tyrant Mitchell is 8. So he receives 8 progressive passes per game, which is a lot for a fullback or a wingback. And again, this is what I'm saying. I think all of these blue bits here are product of the system. Like, I'm sure if you did the same thing with Kostic when he was at Frankfurt, I'm sure it'd be the same. So I'm going to draw your attention to these. So take-ons and carries. So carries, if you don't know what they are, that's just a dribble. And take-on is like when they're actually taking on a defender. So Tyrant Mitchell is, in terms of a percentage, so he attempts them. I mean, considering how far he is up the pitch, bearing in mind he's first received, he attempts the 11th most, so about middle of the way of all of these wing backs or left backs. And then this is the crazy one, right? So he's 17th after Mikalenko, so second worst in the league for percentage. JC, what percentage of his take-ons do you think he completes this season?
Has he even? So he must have tried a take-on, right?
I'll give you a clue. Mikalenko is bottom because he hasn't had a successful one yet.
So how many successful ones Mitchell has had?
As a percentage, yeah. So of all the ones he does as a percentage, how many of them do you think he completes? Bear in mind, he's only second bottom because Mikalenko's is at 0.
I don't remember Mitchell actually trying that many times.
Okay, well, I will tell you, it's more than 1%.
I don't know why, but 7% is calling me right now.
Oh, you think too much of you. I know you're being a bit harsh on him, but still, the percentage is, where is it? 16.7%. So basically, what that means is 1 in 6 of his dribbles actually ends in him going past a player. But do you know what the crazy thing is? Last season, it was at 48%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time today to look into maybe why that is, but I think it's the system. So I think our right-hand side was so OP with Klein overlapping, Elise inverting inside, and Munoz just kind of filling the gaps anywhere between, that defenders were so drawn to that side of the pitch that he just had basically like the freedom of Croydon to do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. And so therefore he was able to kind of set himself a little bit more. And yeah, and I think like just all of these reds in this kind of area, like for example, the total distance, fair enough. Like he receives it very high up the pitch, but the fact that, and also he's dispossessed the 4, like only, what's that? 15, 16, 17, 18. Only 4 players are dispossessed more than him as a percentage on here. And one of those is Aja or Aya, who's actually a centre-back, just filling in. Do you know what I mean? And another one's Udogi, who, like, you know, we've seen Postecoglou's team, like, they play really high-risk passes in really central areas. So, obviously, he will lose it a lot.
I'm surprised with Kyle Walker-Peters that he seems to be number 1 in quite a lot. Take-ons, touches per 90.
Yeah.
Carries.
I was quite surprised by that. I don't know. I feel like he seemed to breathe quite hot and cold, but I think Southampton are a side that they want to take, like, they're happy to take attacking risks.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see here, Tyrant Mitchell, and to be fair, you know, we see this when we watch the game, but take-ons terrible, carries terrible. And the thing is, like, let me share my let me just share my tactics board quickly. Whoops. Thing is, right, if you've got, say, the ball over here and the defenders are, sorry, I've not done this right. And like they're all, say, over here, and you've got, say, Tyrant Mitchell with the ball here, right? All you've got to do is basically have the defender face him, and you know that he's probably not even going to try running down there. So effectively what that does is block off that whole width of the pitch. It then forces Eze to move wide. And we've always said, well, why is he playing there for England? He doesn't play well out wide. You're wasting him. And that's effectively what you kind of have to do. Because you've got a wing-back who doesn't want to do that, you're forcing someone to go into that space instead of him actually trying to take it on. And obviously, like, some things that stats won't capture is that, you know, when he does receive the ball over here, by the time he kind of like sets himself and is confident to like actually cross the ball in,
The cross is normally bad as well.
The cross is bad. The cross is bad, and or, you know, he won't do the cross because, you know, he's been blocked off.
And an easy way to get around it by not even dribbling is just doing a nice easy 1-2, give and go. But
well, yeah, and
he just doesn't do that. But is that because Eze is nowhere near for him to even do that with?
Well, so that's what, if I had more time, I would like to have looked at some of the games last season and seen what was actually allowing him to maybe be a bit more confident. It could very well be that. I don't know, but that's maybe a one for another Q&A. But yeah, that's kind of my sort of summary on that. Is there anything I've forgotten? Yeah, and just to summarize that with Franco Umeh, you know, the trade-off is you're going to get a better dribbler, but is that going to be worth enough in terms of like what he can offer defensively and also just linking up with the play generally as well?
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have... Sorry, I've unshared my screen like an idiot. Next up, we have, how did Sarr look positionally playing right wing back in the second half? I know it's Liverpool, but we played okay in the second half with him there, and I'm wondering why. Do you want to talk about this? Let's say the Munoz's injury is long term.
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I don't know if I would necessarily have Sarr starting there. I probably still would opt for either Klein or a formation change. But against Liverpool, I thought Sarr did all right there. You could tell he's defensively not as good as Munoz. I don't really have like anything to back this up, really. So you just have to take my word for it. But I thought positionally he was fine. I think the good thing Sarr actually does offer at right wing back that Munoz doesn't isn't actually a defensive thing, but is an attacking thing. Because Sarr is better on the ball, you did notice that when Sarr was wide, he was drawing two players over rather than just one.
Yeah.
Which obviously, when you're drawing two players, and that means there's space being created somewhere else. So that is something that I did notice, which was a positive. But yeah, I mean, on one-on-ones, to be fair, I do think Lacroix covered him very well at times. And to kind of feed back into the last question about Franco Umeh, I think, you know, could it be kind of like a similar thing, but on that side, like would Guéhi maybe just be able to cover Umeh very well, perhaps like Lacroix did for Sarr, perhaps. But again, it's a risk. I know he did play there a little bit for Marseille, but I don't think it's a long-term solution personally.
Mm-hmm. But let's say if Munoz is injured for the next 2 weeks or 2 games, would you play Sarr in those 2 games?
At right wing back,
yeah,
it
would add the width for Nketiah to maybe play better in that number 10 position, then, wouldn't it? If you're thinking about it further forwards.
I mean, I guess you could maybe see him in. I guess it could work in maybe like a kind of Jeremy Frimpong role at Bayer Leverkusen, like where Frimpong isn't really a wing back. Like it's actually Kusanu who's the or whoever it is now. Kusanu's the right back, basically.
Yeah, there's a centre back on the right side, but he does the fullback role as well as the centre back role.
Yeah, exactly. And Frimpong just kind of covers defensively when.
And again, though, Lacroix used to do that for Wolfsburg. Exactly that. Because they had that guy that went to Fulham, didn't they? Mbabu, I think his name was. He did the exact same thing. bombed forward, stayed forwards, and Lacroix sort of did the centre back, right back role.
Well, mate, I mean, potentially that's why we bought Lacroix then.
Because I do think that Sar's crossing is a lot better than a lot of our other players that can cross in this team.
Yeah, and I think the only other, I think offensively for me, the only thing I do find with Munoz is that, well, one, he's not a great 1v1 dribbler, but also I do find that times when I think he probably should have a shot, he doesn't. He kind of just cuts in and like lets someone else have a shot instead. Whereas Sar, I don't think would do that.
No, you just let it fly.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, in answer to the question, he was fine. But I think he was also helped out by the shift in dynamics on the team as well.
And then the final question from the tweet is, as much as we love him, Mitch just isn't productive. Left wing back, is it time he went back to a 4 at the back and played 4-2-3-1? Quick on what I've got here, or what I've just put together now, is at Wolfsburg, Glasner played 5 at the back, or what we play now. Found out that his left back wasn't quite on it as much as the right back was. They swapped to a 4 at the back. They got a win. That win was 6-0, and then they stuck with it for the rest of the season.
I think, and you know what? Let's go to the older tactics board, shall we? I think it's interesting because Glasner has reverted to a 4 on occasion during games this season. So, because I know, for example, against Forest, I know these are red, but just imagine Leicester, sorry. I was thinking Steve Cooper's still at Forest. So one of the problems we had against Leicester building up was that who was it? Ndidi basically sat on Adam Wharton. So basically us progressing through the middle was just like, it's just not going to happen because the striker was over here kind of blocking this lane. And then Adam Wharton was basically being man-marked by Ndidi. And then what that meant was that everyone else is kind of, and then the wingers were kind of tracking the wing backs as well. So if the ball was passed, let me actually get a ball up, shall we? When the ball was actually passed out wide, in the time that gets there, they're moving and facing our wing backs up, which, having what we just talked about, they're not very good 1v1 wingers. It didn't really work because obviously our players couldn't get past them. And obviously didn't have that inside channel because Wharton was getting marked. And also if we were trying to play up, because I know sometimes we'll play like a diagonal pass up to the attacking midfielders instead. Either that was a blocked avenue, or again, their midfielders were just all over us. But one thing I did notice when we did actually play 4-2-2-2, so effectively one of these players went into midfield. So we had our kind of 2 building up. So now the problem for their players was, we've now got, rather than having the striker or Vardy, whoever it was, blocking off one passing lane and then Wharton being man-marked, you've got an extra player there who's just floating around. So then what that then caused was then Jordan Ayew to then move over and like try and mark him, basically. So Jordan Ayew was basically becoming a lot more narrow, and what that meant was Tyron Mitchell then had loads of space. And then obviously once that happened, then we were able to progress up the pitch a bit better, irrespective of the fact that he's not, the greatest dribbler and so have you. And I think that really did kind of help this situation because it basically was like, we were able to progress up the pitch and then once we bypassed it, then, we're kind of laughing a little bit there. And again, because we had 6 players in this situation, that also forced the fullbacks to go a lot more narrow as well. Because, once we kind of got up to like here, you got like 4 players in like quite a small part of the pitch. Let's just move all these back. And then again, that gives you a lot of freedom for the fullbacks to use that space. And obviously, I know our fullbacks. I think Munoz is okay when he's got someone alongside him to help. And if they do need help, then they will pull out a bit. They all pull out wide a little bit. So there is a potential avenue for us to go down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that could be how the 4 works. And yeah, the only other thing I think if we didn't want to change the formation, I kind of alluded to it earlier, is just having the centre backs pushing up a lot more. Because what the problem that we found a lot of the time is that, like, because of the way the other teams are set up, our fullbacks just aren't getting forwards. And then the problem is when you got that, let's say, so we got that Wharton there, say that's Nketiah, that's Nketiah, and then that's Eze, right? Let's just put all of these over here. Wait, hang on a minute. I'm missing a player. They should go over here. Right, so they're like over here, let's say. Thing is, when we got the ball, say like here, we weren't driving with the ball. But then I do think if we do get someone who is willing,
started to do it later on to the Liverpool game, though. To be fair to him,
well, see, that's what I was going to say. So that's why I think we played so well in that second half of the Liverpool game, is because Lacroix was bombing forwards, Gabe bombed forwards as well, so on and so forth. So I think if we do have a player who is willing to say, because the thing is, let's say we come against this kind of setup, right? If this player moves here, one of these players has to commit, right? And if one of these players has to commit, let's say they're blocking off that lane. If someone has to commit, space is being made somewhere. So all it takes is for a bit of movement. So let's say Wharton does just a clever little pass. So this player's maybe not quite read what he's doing. Little pass there. And then because this player's had to move towards the centre-back, then your right wing back's free. And then that player has to move forwards. This player then has to track that player. And then, these moments of defenders having to think about things, in the time they think about it, hopefully we're in the opportunity of making a chance. And I noticed it was the same on the other side. Like I saw Chalobah was going forward sometimes, although he kind of only went up to kind of this sort of area. And even Gahey did it as well, which is something that Anderson did it a lot as well from central centre back, just moving up here again, and then Lacroix can just fill in instead. And I think even though we're talking about say like a 4 at the back, let's say, that's only really in defence. And honestly, I think defensively we haven't been too bad, apart from a few mad moments here and there. Because you got to think as well, we haven't had the same back three. We haven't had the same back three for any game so far this season. It's always been different in every single Premier League game.
I think that the back line we played against Liverpool will be our steady back 5, because I feel like even though Mark, in my opinion, probably isn't the person who I'd play in that middle centre back, I can see why he's doing it. Obviously, because of our conversation now, it's given me thoughts of maybe if, as you said with the Leverkusen thing, if Munoz bombs on, you want to have someone that's comfortable playing right centre back and right back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have Lacroix on the right, and then you want to have someone who's comfortable at left centre back and left back. Chalobah's played left centre back and left back before at Chelsea, so that's probably why he's there. Whereas Mark has only really ever played left centre back.
To be fair, I mean, even in a pinch, I would back Gahey to cover that as well. To be fair, And I
would
think,
as well.
and actually, because I did see Rich's question come up, and I'll answer it now if I can see it. Should we move Mark from central centre back? But I think all three of those players, I think, are capable of playing more than one of those back three roles. Like I could see Lacroix playing in the middle or on the right hand side, because as JC said, he basically did that for Wolfsburg, and in the central bit as well. Like he's got a good. We saw in the Liverpool game, he's got a good pass on him. So he can do that, and he's very quick as well. So if he needs to cover that space in behind, he can do that too. Chalobah played on all across the back line for Chelsea, so he can play anywhere, and he's got good experience doing all of that. Mark, I think, would also be great on that left-hand side as well, because I think that's where he did. I think he did play there once under Glasner at the end of last season, I think. But
he played in midfield next to Wharton against Villa.
Is that the only game?
That's the only game he was actually fit to play under Glasner last season.
But either way, he's capable of obviously bombing forwards, and I think he can play on that left side because he's played left centre back many times before anyway. But coming back to this, because we're talking about a 5 at the back or 4 at the back, but I think it's only really in defence that you got to think about it like that. Because, like I said, you got Munoz bombing forwards, who obviously wants to do that. As soon as you've done that, you've got a 4 at the back. As soon as Lacroix, say he manages to bomb forwards, right, and you're in this kind of position instead now, you've got 3 at the back. So I don't think it's necessarily a case of this or that. I think it's just a case of putting the right players in the right roles. Because, we could play, we could say, forget, or say, I don't know, if one of them gets injured, take him off, and instead we'll have a 3 instead. So, we'll have, say, Mitchell there, I don't know, Chalobah there, Gay there, say Lacroix gets injured, and at right back you've got wait, what am I talking about? No, sorry, you got Munoz, and then in midfield you just put in, say, a Lerma or something. Then you've basically got the same. You got the same thing. It's just that they're in different places. They start in different places. If that makes sense. And I really do think that not overloading on the right hand side really messes us up, because, like I kind of alluded to earlier, if you've got 4 players over here, so you've got one that's moved forward, one that's overlapping, one that's moved inside here, the defense has gone really narrow because you've got this and that, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to do a low block. Let's say, if you've got, say, 4 players over here, they're naturally going to drift over to that side, because you don't want, because right now, if they pulled out a bit further, you've got a 4-on-2, which obviously defending, you always want more people defending than attacking. So then they're naturally just going to drift over. And then when they naturally drift over, then that creates space on the other side for a Mitchell. And I'd hazard a guess, I don't know, but I'd hazard a guess why Mitchell's take on completion was a lot better last season than this season. And that's all I have to say, kind of throw up a bit there, but you get the gist.
100%.
Was that the last question? Because I do have some more stats.
That was the last question. So I guess it's sort of play it by the chat and see how long we actually want to go over for.
Yeah. All right. Calm. Yeah. I mean, I'm easy. I think. Let me just see. Anne was asking me, do I have no idea when Munoz is back? I think Glasser does keep his cards close to his chest. But there was one of other animals' comments. Where was it?
I saw it sound like it's a pelvic injury. I saw a comment like that earlier.
Oh, it's like he's saying it's like an abductor or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. There we
go. And Chairman asking a similar question to Rich.
Oh,
there. Yeah, well, hopefully it's just something minor, and hopefully he'll be back, because, let's say, I'm not too sure on Saar there. Oh, where was it? Right, I can't find your comment, Animal, but it is about our finishing, right? Okay, let's play another game, JC. So I collected all what I think a good chance is. So that's a good chance in my mind is anything with a 0.1 xg, a shot with 0.1 xg, right?
Or more.
Or more. Yeah. So I went through every team in the Premier League because I'm a sado, and I counted all the ones that they created, and then obviously all the ones that they scored. So I didn't include goals that were like John Duran's goal that was like from about 45 yards out. So that goal isn't included.
Which of those goals that Duran has scored this season? He's scored quite a few.
I also didn't include penalties, and I didn't include situations where it was a rebound and then someone else then had another shot. So, like, for example, Johan Wissa's goal against us in the first game of the season, that would only count as one chance, if that makes sense, because the second shot wouldn't have happened if the first shot. Do you get what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, because they were both of those shots were above 0.1. So it's like, well, it's only really one chance. Right. So I'm going to give you a clue, and I'm going to say the average was between 20 and 30% finishing those chances. I'll tell you that we've made 25 this season of chances with 0.1 or better. How many, as a percentage, or how many do you think we've scored?
I know that we've got the third lowest conversion rate in the whole league.
The second now.
Oh, I have
Southampton moved above us because they scored.
Oh, so Man United's the only team below us now. I'm gonna say 10%, around
8%.
Ooh.
But this is the thing, right? Let me show again.
Out of interest, do you actually have the XG of Eze's chance at the end of Liverpool?
No, but I can Google that very quickly. So Crystal Palace. So bear with me. So Eze's was 0.11.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. Like they're good chance. Like they're good chance. Yeah, that will be included. They're good chances. So actually, I know there's Animal's comment. Better composure, and we could have won, in my opinion. And you know what? I think that's a story for quite a few of our games this season. Like you look at that there, right? We've created 25, which is 14th in the league. So obviously it's not great, but it's not anywhere near as bad as where we are in the table. We've scored 8% of them. We've scored 2 of those 25. As I said, Man United are the only team lower. And that's not helped by the fact that we've only had 3 goals outside of that as well. Whereas, like, yeah. So, like, for example, against Brentford, we had made 4 of those chances and we didn't score any of them. 6 against West Ham, didn't score any of them. Can't remember who game week 3 was. Liverpool, 3 of them, didn't score any of them. And this is the thing, right? Look at us. So we've got 25, right? Compare that to, say, Fulham. Fulham have only made 4 more of those chances, and yet they're 8th in the league right now.
And it's just because their conversion rate's 1 in 4
instead
of 1 in 10.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at someone like Leicester, right? And it's no wonder we got S-housed a little bit there. 63.6% of their ones have been converted.
They've got the highest in the league by miles, no? Jeez.
So that's what, and that's not including like those.
What game week did we play them? It was 3, right? So they only made 1 chance in that game over 0.1 xg.
Sorry, it's game week 4.
Oh, 3 then. But still, that I guess that perfectly aligns with their thing. 63% conversion. They had 3 chances.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of what I was saying about the, like it's not all doom and gloom sort of thing, because we are. We're not. It's not like we're bottom of that table of like chance creation. It's just that we're not taking our chances. And I do genuinely believe that once we get our first win, I think we'll go on a good run.
Mm-hmm.
obviously we do have issues tactically, like we've been talking about for the last hour and stuff like that. But I do think a lot of it is also confidence.
Oh, 100%. I feel like Eze's confidence is shattered like beyond belief at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think like every time, say, an opening is made, like in the middle of the pitch. Last season, we're taking that. We're going straight through it. Do you know what I mean? This season, we're taking a touch and then another touch. Chance is gone. And then we're just kicking it around being slow. And
Yeah.
I do think a lot of that is confidence. And again, like what I was saying about like it basically what we said all night, like Mitchell and Munoz, all they need is a bit more confidence, and maybe they are taking on more players. Or, you know, the right centre back bombing forwards or whatever. Again, it's just more confidence in taking the risk of going forwards.
100%.
But yeah, that's my final words, since we don't have any score predictions.
How many beers is going to get destroyed on Saturday with no football, mate?
None, because I'm working. So
Yeah, none as well because there's no football. There's probably international football, but who cares about international football?
I mean, I'm interested to see how Lee Carsley keeps getting on. But yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And are there any more? Are there any more questions in here before we round up? I quite enjoyed doing this one.
I think, to be fair, I think a lot of them we've already kind of covered. Although Chairman's put a great stat in the chat earlier. We've only been in the league for 37 minutes this season.
Nice. And that was all against Everton, I believe.
And do you know what? I think that's very interesting, because it'd be interesting to see how many minutes we've been losing as well, because that might be another reason why we're kind of struggling a little bit. We're giving away silly goals, and then the other team are just kind of like protecting a lead, maybe. Don't know, but
it'd be good to know how much time we spent drawing, how much time we spent
actually
winning.
Just talking about that, I actually know a website that'll tell you that. So, where are we? Crystal Palace. So game state. So, hang on a minute. So we've been drawing for 337 minutes, and we've been losing by 1 goal for 258 minutes. And interestingly, we've only been losing by more than 1 goal for 31 minutes this season. So again, you know, these are close margins. We're not dead in the water.
I guess that also shows Glasner's, I guess, his ability to change things when things start going very wrong.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact,
with Leicester, I think the second we went 2-0 down, I'm sure he just threw everyone on instantly, and then we got a goal back.
Yeah, no, because I think Klein came off like really early or something. I think, or something.
Yeah, I know we swapped to a fullback very early into that game.
Yeah, we did. But yeah, and I mean, and again, like what I was showing earlier with the stats and stuff like that, I think, you know, this is the worst that we've been under Glasner. There's no questions about that. So if this is the worst, and we're just losing by the odd goal here and there, and we're just not finishing our chances, okay, granted, like the play has been, it's not like people are talking about like relegation and stuff, and like for me, bar something crazy happening, I don't think that's going to happen.
I agree.
So it's not a good time for the Eagles yet. Philadelphia Eagles not flying yet.
What, Eagles or E-girls?
No comment. Right, let me just have a quick last read, see if there are any more comments. No, that's it. Cool. Yeah, no, I thought that was a very nice. I thought that was a very nice stream.
Yeah, put in the comments if you guys want us to do this as a regular thing for international breaks, because there's quite a few during the season.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and actually, you know what? I do think that has had a bit of an impact with us as well. Obviously, we've had Euros, and we've already had is this the second or third international break already? Don't even know.
Second, I think.
Second. So yeah.
Cool.
Durf saying Roy Ball left us unfit, losing games in last and first minutes of halves, whereas Glaston's had to attempt to gel a substantially different team from last season. Yeah, definitely. See, losing Elise is a big deal. Bringing in Kamada, yeah, losing Anderson. They said we were saying earlier, the back three's not been the same in any game this season so far. So that obviously hasn't helped. So it'd be interesting to see how they do gel actually going forwards. Agent Ancelotti saying, "Evening lads, great show. How many games without a win would you start worrying? And would Moyes be an option?" Moyes would never be an option for a start, because I think the thing is we put up with Roy for so long that I don't think anyone would take well to that kind of football anymore. Not for a long time anyway. I think there would definitely need to be some sort of breather before anyone wants to welcome back that type of football. And obviously, Moyes is well known for that type of football as well.
No more Brexit ball, please.
So yeah, I mean, when would I start worrying? Right, let's look at our next fixtures. Actually,
I know the next one's Forest.
I mean, that's a tough game to go away at the moment,
and it's on a Monday as well, so I can't even go.
Tottenham at home, they could drop points, but probably not. Wolves away. I would say if we after Wolves, if we still haven't got a win, then I'd maybe start worrying a little bit. Then we got Fulham at home the week after. That could go our way potentially. Don't know.
As long as we're picking up, even if it's not a win, as long as we're picking up points here and there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I'll caveat with the same as well. Like if, say, we draw all 4 of those games, then I would be okay with that as well.
Mm-hmm. If we draw against Spurs and beat one of them and then we lose the others, and it's still not the end of the world.
Yeah, and also I think like if the performances are there as well and we're just maybe a bit unlucky, then again, you know, I think performances is an important part. Chairman saying, excellent, interesting show. Thank you, Chairman. Quality Q&A. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Animal. Moyes never an option for me. Yep, I agree. Moyes has relegated a team. Sunderland, isn't it, I think? For 30% win rate, Glasgow has until Ipswich, in my opinion. Oh, so that's quite a while then. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games from now. I think that's fair. So as long as we're not, you know, adrift, then I think that's okay. But yeah. Anything else, JC?
I think that's it, man.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate the comments. I thought this was a good idea just to get you guys, you know, your kind of thoughts on here as well. And I think we will do another one in the next international break, which is in November, I think.
Yeah, so not too far away.
So hopefully we'll have done a bit better by then. So if you got any questions, save them for then, I guess. But yeah, thank you all for watching. We are Eagle Eye Football. It's been me and JC and TACT-EAGLE. Am I going to end this stream correctly? Because this hasn't gone well any time so far.
Let's see if there's a post-credit scene.
Right.
At the Palace.
Eagles.
Eagles.